All right, tax me more. That's the message you got from billionaire investor Warren Buffett telling CNBC the wealthier in America are undertaxed and they should pay more. My next guest says then you can write a check out to the government. A former CKE restaurant CEO, Andy Puzder. He's not the first, and Warren Buffett is a brilliant investor, and I take nothing away from him, but this clarion call on the part of the very, very wealthy who say, you know, we should pay more taxes. Now, it's not just the mega wealthy. A lot of millionaires in New York, a lot of high-income individuals who've been advocating paying more in taxes as well. And there is a push, certainly among Democrats, to make sure they do. What do you think's going on here, Andy?
Hey, look, if they want to pay more in taxes, they absolutely should just go and pay more in taxes. You can do that. As a matter of fact, last year, I found out during the confirmation process for Secretary of Labor that I had underpaid some payroll taxes. So I paid them, and the government sent the money back. So I contributed at the end of the year. I contributed an amount equal to what they sent back to me because I owed the tax. If you feel like you want to pay more, like you owe more, pay more. Stop contributing to these foundations that just transfer your funds, out of your estate prior to your death so that they can employ your children for decades. Give that money to the government. Let's pay down the deficit. Go for it.
I'm more concerned about the fact that it's tilted. Our tax system is tilted to the point where 43% in this country pay no federal income tax at all. I take nothing away from them paying Social Security, FICA-related taxes,
right,
and what have you. But all I know, when I was in grad school, it was a fraction of that number. So something accelerated here. And I'm not saying everybody has to pay a super high rate like someone rich like you. But that I think if everyone has some skin in the game, it doesn't have to be a lot of skin in the game, they're going to be more interested in how much we're spending on the game.
I think that's absolutely right. And you could end up in a situation like you have in California. I think it's about 150,000 people pay a very, very high percentage of the entire income tax for the state. So if those people start to leave or there's some kind of recession that impacts their income, it could have a very devastating effect on the state's economy.
Well, and tax rates are driving them out. They're out better than $2 billion because a lot of folks have upped and left for better tax environments and sunnier skies, such as Florida.
So the higher percentage of the total tax revenue that those people pay as you drive them out of the state, the worse your state becomes. So it's a real problem. We have a very, very progressive tax system. Other countries with very high tax rates, for example, Denmark is a country that the progressives often use, really have more of a much flatter tax system. They don't overtax the wealthy. They tax all classes. And I'm not a big advocate for taxing the bottom half of people, but I think the upper half of the economic structure is being taxed, and I think at a pretty fair rate right now.
Well,
so
they say not fair enough. I mean, you've seen the Cortezes and some of the others who say the top rate should be significantly higher than it is now. I think she puts it, 70% if you get to over 10 million, what have you. But there are others who are advocating a wealth tax on the assets that you have, with the understanding being that the wealthy should pay more. Where do you think this is going?
Well, I hope it's not going to the point where we're actually punishing people for being successful, because people like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Warren Buffett have had tremendous benefits for everybody in the economy, not just for themselves, but for everybody.
Bill Gates is among those who want to pay more.
Yeah, but the problem is Bill Gates made his money.
Right.
I don't want the next Bill Gates to feel like he's going to be restricted in how much he could or should do, that there's a stopping point before he gets to the point where he's really providing the kind of benefits somebody like a Gates or a Jobs can provide for the economy. I think it's a big mistake. I think we don't want to punish people who are wealthy. We want to try and be like people that are wealthy. That's how you generate economic growth and prosperity. We don't need the kind of want and need you have in countries like Venezuela because of a tax system that oppresses wealthy people. It's the wrong attitude. It's the wrong way to look at it. We need economic growth. Economic growth benefits everybody.
All right. Now, there was a time when we had much higher top rates, 70%, 90% for a while, when John F. Kennedy, sadly after his death, was able to get his tax cuts enacted by Lyndon Johnson,
right,
to bring it down. But there were much higher rates. The country was fine. I always show distinction here that the tax base had about 92% of Americans paying federal income taxes, though.
Well, the problem with those high rates was nobody paid them. I mean, you can hire people to prepare your taxes where you don't have to pay those exorbitant amounts. And then wealthy people actually can control how much income they have. Their income doesn't come from a paycheck necessarily every month. They can control what kind of money they take in capital gains or whether a company pays dividends. So you're discouraging wealth creation, and again, that's bad for the economy. President Kennedy was exactly the right guy to mention. He's the one who said a rising tide lifts all boats. We need that rising economic tide to lift everybody.
All right, Andy, thank you very much. Andy Puzder, the former CKE restaurant CEO. By the way, he was talking about Venezuela, what's going on there. Trish Regan just had a chance to sit down with the vice president of Colombia dealing with that crisis. More of that after this.